Born into a world of relentless discipline and unyielding loyalty, the Mongol warrior's life was one of constant challenge and sacrifice. This is that story. The scent of horse and leather filled the air as the riders moved in unison. The ground trembled slightly under their hooves, a low rumble that echoed across the steppe. Each man held his reins loosely, their bodies synchronized with the rhythm of the gallop. In the distance, a hawk circled lazily against the grey sky, watching from above as the riders passed below. The landscape was vast and unbroken, stretching endlessly in all directions. The cold wind bit into the skin, sharp and relentless. Beneath the leather armor, a Mongol warrior adjusted his grip on the reins, his breath visible in the frigid air. The steppe stretched out before him, a vast expanse of frozen earth under a pale winter sky. In the distance, the silhouette of a wolf could be seen, its eyes fixed on the riders with an unblinking stare. Each man's face was hidden behind fur-lined hoods, their movements practiced and precise in the biting cold. Under the starlit sky, the Mongol camp buzzed with controlled activity. Tents stood like dark islands in a sea of shadows, smoke curling from small vents where fires burned low. A rider's boots crunched softly on dry grass as he patrolled the perimeter, eyes scanning the horizon. Inside one tent, a warrior sharpened his blade by flickering candlelight, the scent of leather and metal heavy in the air. Each movement was practiced, precise, a life lived always on edge. The sound of leather armor rustling filled the quiet air as a warrior adjusted his gear. Inside the tent, the flickering light of an oil lamp cast deep shadows across worn fabrics and polished weapons. A low murmur of voices drifted from outside, carrying tales of distant lands and recent battles. Each whisper was a reminder of the relentless discipline that kept the steppe riders united under Genghis Khan's iron will. The scent of smoke mingled with earth, grounding each man to the harsh reality of their existence. The scent of smoke and sweat lingered in the air as a warrior stroked his horse's mane. Inside the tent, the low murmur of voices discussed tactics and strategy. A flickering oil lamp cast shadows that danced across leather armor and polished steel. Outside, the steppe was silent, save for an occasional whinny from the stables. The ground beneath was hard-packed earth, cool to the touch. Each warrior moved with practiced ease, their actions a testament to years of relentless training under Genghis Khan's watchful eye. The night was alive with quiet whispers and the soft crunch of boots on dry grass. Inside a tent, flickering candlelight cast shadows across worn fabrics and polished weapons. A warrior hunched over a map, tracing routes with practiced precision while outside, horses stood tethered to stakes, their breath visible in the cold air. The steppe was silent, save for an occasional whinny from the stables, each sound a reminder of the vastness they commanded. The air was thick with the scent of leather and horse, a constant reminder of the steppe's unforgiving nature. A warrior knelt beside his mount, running calloused hands over its flank, feeling the warmth beneath. Inside the tent, an oil lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced along the edges of worn fabrics and polished steel. The voices outside were hushed but urgent, discussing plans for the next day's march. Each sound blended into a symphony of discipline and readiness, a life always poised on the edge. The silence of the steppe was broken only by the distant murmur of voices and the occasional clink of metal. A warrior sat cross-legged inside a tent, his fingers tracing the grooves on his bow, worn smooth from years of use. Outside, the night sky arched overhead, a tapestry of stars that seemed to stretch endlessly. The air was crisp and clean, carrying with it the scent of the open plains. Inside, an oil lamp flickered, casting shifting shadows across the tent's interior, where leather armor and weapons lay ready for the next day's march. The night was sharp with cold as a warrior pulled his cloak tighter around him. Outside the tent, a small fire crackled, sending sparks into the moonlit sky. Inside, an oil lamp cast flickering shadows across worn fabrics and polished steel. A map lay spread out on a crude table, its lines traced by calloused fingers. The steppe's vastness pressed in from all sides, a constant reminder of their place at the edge of the world. The steppe's vast expanse was punctuated by the rhythmic clacking of hooves. Inside a tent, The murmur of voices discussed the day's scouting reports under the soft glow of an oil lamp. Outside, horses shifted restlessly in the tethered silence, their breaths forming misty clouds in the crisp night air. The earth beneath was hard and cold, its surface marked by countless hoofprints from relentless training. Each warrior moved with practiced ease, their actions a testament to years of discipline under Genghis Khan's unyielding gaze. The scent of smoke mingled with the earthy aroma of the steppe as a warrior sharpened his blade on a whetstone. Inside the tent, an oil lamp flickered, casting long shadows that danced along the fabric walls. Outside, horses shifted restlessly in the night, their hooves clinking against tethering chains. The air was crisp and filled with the sound of distant conversation, whispers carried by the wind. Each movement inside the tent was deliberate, a testament to years of rigorous training under Genghis Khan's watchful eye. The steppe's chill bit into the skin as a warrior stoked the campfire. Sparks leaped into the night sky, mingling with the stars above. Inside the tent, an oil lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced along worn fabrics and polished steel. Outside, horses shifted restlessly in the tethered silence, their breaths forming misty clouds in the crisp air. The earth beneath was hard and cold, marked by countless hoofprints from relentless training. Each warrior moved with practiced ease, a testament to years of discipline under Genghis Khan's unyielding gaze. The night's cold seeped into the ground, hardening it beneath the horses' hooves. Inside a tent, leather armor creaked as a warrior adjusted his quiver, the bow resting across his lap. Outside, the flicker of an oil lamp cast shadows that seemed to dance on the fabric walls. The whisper of wind through the grasses carried distant murmurs and the clink of metal. Each movement was precise, a silent ritual repeated countless times under Genghis Khan's unyielding discipline. The flicker of an oil lamp illuminated the tent's interior, casting shadows that danced along worn fabrics and polished steel. Outside, the night air was sharp with cold, punctuated by the distant clip-clop of horses' hooves as they shifted restlessly in their tethering chains. Inside, a warrior adjusted his bowstring, running practiced fingers over the taut sinew. The scent of leather and metal filled the air, mingling with the earthy aroma of the steppe. Each movement was precise, a silent ritual repeated countless times under Genghis Khan's unyielding discipline. Leather creaked as a warrior adjusted his quiver under the moonlit sky. Inside the tent, an oil lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced along worn fabrics and polished steel. Outside, horses shifted restlessly in their tethering chains, breath-forming misty clouds in the crisp night air. The earth beneath was hard and cold, its surface marked by countless hoofprints from relentless training. Each movement inside the tent was deliberate, as the night pressed against the tent walls, cold and unyielding. Inside, a warrior polished his armor by the flickering light of an oil lamp, its glow barely piercing the darkness beyond. Outside, horses snorted softly in their tethered slumber, breaths forming ghostly wisps in the chill air. The scent of leather and metal filled the space, mingling with the earthy aroma of the steppe. Each motion was a practiced dance, honed over years under Genghis Khan's watchful eye. The night was a blanket of stars above the Mongol camp. Inside his tent, a warrior fastened leather straps over armor, the oil lamp's glow casting flickering shadows on the fabric walls. Outside, horses shifted restlessly in their tethering chains, breath-forming misty clouds in the crisp air. Each movement inside was precise, a silent ritual repeated under Genghis Khan's unyielding discipline. The scent of leather and metal mingled with the earthy aroma of the steppe. Sleep well wherever you are. If this reached you tonight, subscribe and leave a comment. We read everyone. The scent of smoke and wood filled the air as a warrior tended to the small fire inside his tent. The flames flickered, casting dancing shadows on the rugged fabrics that lined the walls. Outside, the night was alive with the distant sounds of horses and the quiet murmur of fellow warriors. Each motion was practiced and precise, from adjusting the bowstring to sharpening an arrowhead under the oil lamp's glow. The earth beneath was hard and cold, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's unyielding rule. The rhythmic creak of leather and the scrape of metal filled the tent. A warrior tightened a bowstring, each movement precise under Genghis Khan's shadow. Outside, the night whispered through the grass, carrying with it the distant snort of horses and the faint murmur of voices from other tents. Inside, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows on worn fabrics, its light barely reaching corners where the cold seeped in. The scent of leather and metal mingled with the earthy aroma of the steppe, a constant reminder of the harsh world beyond. The cold air bit sharply as a warrior moved silently through the encampment. His breath formed small clouds that dissipated quickly into the night. Each step was measured, careful not to disturb the quietude of the camp. Lanterns flickered in distant tents, casting long shadows across the ground. Inside his own tent, he folded his gear with practiced precision, each motion a testament to years of discipline under Genghis Khan's rule. The scent of leather and metal mingled with the crisp night air. The night was a deep, dark canvas under the stars. A warrior sat cross-legged inside his tent, the oil lamp's flickering light barely reaching the edges of the space. He polished his armor with meticulous care, each movement precise and practiced over countless nights. Outside, the steppe whispered secrets in the wind, carrying distant murmurs of other tents. The smell of leather and metal mingled with the earthy scent of the grasslands, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's unyielding command. The distant howl of a wolf cut through the night, stirring the horses in their tethered lines. Inside his tent, a warrior ran a rag over his quiver, the leather creaking softly under the oil lamp's glow. Each arrow was inspected with practiced care, the feather fletching aligned perfectly. Outside, the steppe lay silent beneath the starlit sky, the cold air sharp and clear. The scent of smoke from distant campfires mingled with the earthy aroma of the grasslands, a constant reminder of the unforgiving world Genghis Khan had shaped. Inside his tent, a warrior checked his saddlebags one last time, ensuring every essential was secured. Outside, the night air carried the faint scent of wood smoke and leather, mingling with the earthy aroma of the steppe. The distant neighing of horses broke the silence, each sound a reminder of the unyielding world Genghis Khan had forged. The cold seeped through his clothes, but he moved with practiced precision, ready for whatever lay ahead in the unforgiving campaign. The rhythmic clatter of hooves echoed through the night, a steady pulse that seemed to match the beating heart of the steppe itself. A warrior mounted his horse, the leather saddle creaking softly under his weight. He adjusted his quiver, feeling each arrow's precise placement, a ritual as familiar as breathing. The cold air clung to his skin, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's command. Beyond the encampment, the steppe stretched endlessly into darkness, silent and watchful. The night air was a biting whisper against the warrior's skin as he dismounted from his horse. The encampment lay silent, save for the distant crackle of a campfire. He moved through the shadows with practiced ease, his footsteps barely audible on the hard-packed earth. Inside his tent, the faint glow of an oil lamp cast long shadows across worn leather and polished metal. Each item was carefully arranged, a ritual as essential to survival as breathing itself. The scent of smoke mingled with the cold earth, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's relentless world. The warrior's breath misted in the cold air as he patrolled the perimeter of the encampment. Each step was a test against the hard earth, his eyes scanning for any sign of movement beyond the flickering light of distant campfires. The night whispered secrets of the steppe, and he listened intently, knowing that Genghis Khan's command required vigilance at all times. Inside his tent, the oil lamp cast long shadows across worn leather and polished metal, a constant reminder of the unyielding world he inhabited. The scent of leather and metal filled the warrior's tent, each item arranged with meticulous care. Outside, the steppe loomed under a moonless sky, the cold wind a relentless companion. He ran his fingers over the finely polished surface of his sword, its edge sharp enough to slice through air itself. Each piece of gear was checked and rechecked, a ritual as familiar as breathing in this unforgiving world. The faint glow of an oil lamp cast long shadows across worn leather and metal, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's relentless command. The soft thud of hooves on hard earth marked the warrior's return to camp. Inside his tent, the oil lamp flickered, casting dancing shadows across rough-hewn wood and worn leather. He paused by the fire pit, feeling its warmth against his chilled skin. Each piece of gear was arranged with precision, a testament to years of unyielding discipline. The scent of smoke mingled with the cold earth, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's relentless world. The steppe was a blanket of cold, the air crisp and sharp with frost. A warrior stood by his horse, the leather reins tight under his gloved hands. His breath formed clouds that dissipated into the dark, each exhale a visible testament to the biting chill. Inside his tent, the oil lamp flickered, casting long shadows across worn leather armor and polished metal weapons. The scent of cold earth mingled with the faint smell of smoke from distant campfires, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's world. The night silence was broken only by the distant neigh of a horse. Inside his tent, the warrior's breath misted in the cold air, each exhale a brief cloud that vanished into the darkness. His fingers traced the edges of his bow, feeling the tension in the sinew and the smoothness of the wood. The oil lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced across the worn leather and polished metal. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly under a blanket of stars, its vast emptiness a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's expansive realm. The scent of cold earth and leather filled the air as the warrior tightened his cloak around his shoulders. He stood by the fire pit, its warmth a small island in the vast chill of the steppe. Outside, the sky was a canvas of starlight, each twinkle a distant beacon against the dark expanse. Inside, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows across worn leather and polished metal. Each item had a purpose, every movement precise, a testament to years of unyielding discipline under Genghis Khan's command. The warrior's fingers traced the intricate patterns on his quiver as he prepared for another night watch. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly under a starlit sky, each twinkle a distant sentinel against the dark expanse. Inside, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows across worn leather and polished metal, a constant reminder of Genghis Khan's relentless command. The cold air seeped through every crevice, a biting chill that never truly left him. Each movement was precise, each item arranged with meticulous care, a ritual as familiar as breathing in this unforgiving world. The night stillness was shattered by the sudden crackle of a twig beneath a boot. The warrior paused, his senses sharpened by years of vigilance. Inside the tent, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows across polished metal and worn leather. Each piece of gear lay in its place, a silent testament to discipline under Genghis Khan's rule. Outside, the cold earth pressed against his skin, and the steppe's vast emptiness stretched beneath the starlit sky, unending and unforgiving. The cold air nipped at the warrior's exposed skin as he tightened his grip on the reins. His horse stood patient, its breath visible in the frigid night. Inside the tent, the oil lamp cast a warm glow that struggled against the encroaching darkness. Shadows danced across the leather and metal, each piece a silent witness to years of unyielding discipline under Genghis Khan's command. The warrior's cloak rustled as he moved, his every motion precise and purposeful. The tent's fabric creaked softly with each gust of wind, a constant reminder of nature's dominance. The warrior moved methodically, checking straps and strings, each motion honed by years of relentless training. Outside, the steppe lay still, its vastness a silent sentinel under the starlit sky. Inside, the oil lamp's glow struggled against encroaching darkness, casting flickering shadows that danced across worn leather and polished metal. A testament to Genghis Khan's unyielding command. The warrior's breath misted in the cold air as he mounted his horse. Leather creaked softly, a sound familiar and reassuring after years of constant companionship with his steed. The night was alive with subtle movements, shadows shifted under the moonlight, each one a potential threat or ally. Inside the tent, the oil lamp's light flickered, casting elongated shadows that danced across the worn leather and polished metal. Each item stood as a silent witness to Genghis Khan's iron will, a constant reminder of the discipline required to survive. The warrior adjusted his cloak, the fabric rough against his skin. Each step on the frozen earth was a careful balance between stealth and speed. Inside the tent, shadows played across worn leather and polished metal, the oil lamp's glow barely piercing the encroaching darkness. Outside, the night was alive with whispers of wind through grasses, each sound amplified by the vast emptiness of the steppe. The moon hung low, casting long shadows that danced like spectres. Each movement was a ritual, each item a silent witness to Genghis Khan's iron will. The warrior's fingers traced the hilt of his sword, cold steel under roughened skin. Each step on frozen earth was deliberate, a balance between stealth and readiness. Outside, the steppe whispered with wind through grasses, each sound magnified in the vast emptiness. Inside the tent, shadows played across worn leather and polished metal, the oil lamp's glow barely piercing, encroaching darkness, a silent witness to Genghis Khan's iron will. The night was a deep, velvety expanse under the cold moon. The warrior's horse snorted softly, hooves pawing at the frozen earth. Inside the tent, the oil lamp flickered weakly against the creeping darkness, casting eerie shadows that danced across worn leather and polished metal. Each item stood silent witness to years of relentless discipline under Genghis Khan's command. Outside, the steppe was a vast, whispering silence, each gust of wind carrying the weight of unseen threats. The warrior's horse grazed quietly on the sparse grass, its breath visible in the cold air. Inside the tent, the flickering oil lamp cast a weak glow that barely reached the edges of the canvas walls. Shadows danced across worn leather and polished metal, each item a silent testament to years of rigorous training under Genghis Khan's unyielding command. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly into the night, its vastness broken only by the distant silhouette of rolling hills. Each breath was a reminder of the biting cold, each sound an echo of the relentless emptiness. The warrior's breath steamed in the frigid air as he watched the stars wheel overhead. Inside the tent, the oil lamp cast a feeble glow, its light flickering weakly against the encroaching darkness. Shadows danced across worn leather and polished metal, each item a silent witness to Genghis Khan's iron will. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly into the night, its vastness broken only by the distant silhouette of rolling hills. Each gust of wind carried whispers of unseen threats, a constant reminder of survival in the relentless emptiness. The warrior's fingers tightened around the reins, cold leather biting into his calloused palms. Inside the tent, the oil lamp flickered weakly, casting shadows that danced across worn leather and polished metal. Each item a silent witness to years of rigorous training under Genghis Khan's command. Outside, the steppe lay quiet, each gust of wind carrying whispers through the tall grasses, the vast emptiness broken only by the distant silhouette of rolling hills. Each breath was a reminder of the biting cold, each sound an echo of unseen threats. The warrior's fingers traced the intricate patterns etched into his bow, a tool forged from years of relentless practice. Outside, the steppe was a vast, silent expanse under the cold moon, each gust of wind carrying whispers through tall grasses. Inside the tent, shadows danced across worn leather and polished metal, the oil lamp's flickering glow barely piercing the encroaching darkness, a silent witness to Genghis Khan's iron will. Each breath was a reminder of the biting cold, each sound an echo of unseen threats. The warrior's ears pricked at the sound of distant hoofbeats, a familiar yet unsettling rhythm in the still night. Inside the tent, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows across worn leather quivers and polished metal armor, each item a silent witness to years under Genghis Khan's command. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly into the cold darkness, its vastness broken only by distant hills. Each gust of wind carried whispers through tall grasses, a constant reminder of unseen threats in the relentless emptiness. The sound of a distant wolf howl echoed across the steppe, piercing the stillness. Inside the tent, the oil lamp's weak glow illuminated the warrior's weathered face as he gazed into the flames, his thoughts lost in the flickering light. Outside, the cold moon cast long shadows over the endless grasslands, each gust of wind carrying the scent of earth and night. The silence was a heavy blanket, broken only by the occasional rustle of fabric within the tent, a constant reminder of survival amidst the vast emptiness. The silence of the night was punctuated only by the distant howl of a wolf, its echo stretching across the open grasslands. Inside the tent, the warrior adjusted his position, feeling the rough fabric of his cloak brush against his skin. Shadows danced across worn leather and polished metal as the oil lamp's light flickered weakly. Outside, Each gust of wind carried whispers through the tall grasses, a constant reminder of unseen dangers lurking in the vast emptiness. The worn leather of his saddle creaked with each breath, the chill air biting at exposed skin. His fingers traced the grooves in the bow he had mastered from childhood, a weapon both familiar and deadly. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly under the cold moon, its vastness unbroken save for distant hills silhouetted against the night sky. Inside the tent, shadows danced across leather quivers and metal armor, each item a silent witness to years of relentless campaigning under Genghis Khan's command. The oil lamp's flickering light barely pierced the encroaching darkness, casting long, ominous shapes on the canvas walls. The distant crackle of a campfire broke the stillness, its orange glow barely piercing the night. Inside the tent, the warrior's hands traced the smooth curve of his bow, worn from years of use. Shadows danced across leather quivers and metal armor as the oil lamp flickered weakly. Outside, the steppe lay silent under the cold moon, each gust of wind whispering through tall grasses, a constant reminder of unseen dangers in the endless expanse. The warrior's fingers traced the grooves of his bow, each line telling a story of years under Genghis Khan's banner. Outside, the steppe lay silent, its vastness unbroken save for distant hills silhouetted against the night sky. Each gust of wind whispered through tall grasses, carrying whispers of unseen dangers in the endless expanse. Inside the tent, shadows danced across leather quivers and metal armor as the oil lamp flickered weakly, barely piercing the encroaching darkness. The cold air bit through the tent's canvas, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and distant smoke. Inside, the warrior listened to the rhythmic creaking of his saddle as he adjusted its straps one last time. Each movement sent shadows dancing across leather quivers and metal armor under the weak glow of an oil lamp. Outside, the steppe's vast emptiness lay silent beneath the cold moon, each gust of wind a whisper of unseen dangers in the endless expanse. The soft rustle of the tent fabric against his skin woke him. He stirred, feeling the roughness of leather armor beneath layers of worn wool. Outside, the night was a deep canvas of starlight, each twinkle reflecting off distant snow-capped peaks. Inside, shadows flickered as the oil lamp's flame danced with every gust that found its way through the tent flaps. Each shadow cast an ominous silhouette against the walls, hinting at the dangers that lay beyond. The warrior's breath misted in the frigid air as he tightened his grip on the reins. Each hoofbeat echoed across the silent steppe, a rhythmic pulse against the stillness. Inside his tent, shadows danced with every flicker of the oil lamp, casting eerie shapes on the canvas walls. Outside, the vast emptiness lay under the cold moon, each gust of wind a whispered reminder of the dangers that lurked in the endless expanse. The distant howl of a wolf pierced the night, its echo fading into the vast steppe. Inside the tent, the warrior's hands rested on his scabbard, fingers tracing the cool metal, worn smooth by years of use. Shadows danced across leather quivers and polished armor as the oil lamp flickered weakly, casting eerie shapes on the canvas walls. Outside, the cold moon hung low in the sky, each gust of wind a whispered reminder of unseen dangers that lurked just beyond the light's reach. The warrior's fingers tightened around the hilt of his sword, the cold metal a stark contrast to the warmth of his calloused hands. Outside, the steppe was a sea of darkness under the crescent moon, each shadow a potential threat. Inside, the flickering oil lamp cast long shadows that danced across the worn wooden floor and leather quivers. The scent of smoke from distant campfires mingled with the earthy aroma of damp grass, filling the tent with an eerie stillness. The warrior's breath misted as he emerged from his tent into the frigid night. Each step crunched softly on the frozen ground, echoing across the silent expanse. Inside, shadows flickered weakly under the oil lamp's glow, casting eerie shapes upon the canvas walls. Outside, the cold moon hung low in the sky, each gust of wind a whispered reminder of unseen dangers that lurked just beyond the light's reach. The soft crunch of snow beneath his boots, the warrior moved silently across the steppe. Inside the tent, the oil lamp's feeble light barely pierced the encroaching darkness, casting flickering shadows that danced macabrely on leather quivers and worn armor. Outside, the cold moonlight bathed everything in a ghostly silver glow. each shadow a silent sentinel under the vast night sky. The distant howl of wolves was a constant reminder of the wilderness's untamed ferocity. The night air was a sharp bite, each breath a frosty exhale into the darkness. The warrior's horse moved with practiced grace over the frozen earth, hooves barely making sound in the stillness. Inside his tent, the oil lamp's glow was weak but steady, casting long shadows that twisted across worn leather and iron. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly under a crescent moon, each shadow a silent guardian of secrets known only to the night. A distant wolf howl pierced the silence as the warrior adjusted his leather armor, the cold night biting at exposed skin. The moon cast an eerie silver glow over the steppe, each shadow a whispered warning. Inside his tent, the oil lamp's weak light flickered, casting long shadows that danced macabrely across worn quivers and iron. Outside, the vast expanse of frozen earth stretched endlessly under the crescent moon, every gust of wind a reminder of the dangers lurking just beyond the light's reach. The warrior's horse snorted softly, steam rising from its nostrils in the frigid air. Inside his tent, the oil lamp cast a dim light that barely reached the edges of the canvas walls. Shadows twisted and danced as if alive. Outside, the steppe was an endless expanse under the crescent moon, each shadow a silent sentinel. The distant crackle of ice beneath another horse's hooves was the only sound in the vast silence. The warrior's breath hung in the air, a cloud of frost that dissipated quickly under the cold moon. Inside his tent, the oil lamp cast flickering shadows on the canvas walls, each movement traced by shifting light and darkness. Outside, the steppe was an endless blanket of snow, broken only by the occasional silhouette of a distant horseman. The night air carried whispers of the howling wind, mingled with the faint scent of pine from far-off forests. The warrior wrapped his scarf tighter, the frigid air biting at his exposed skin. His horse stood patiently, his breath a visible mist in the night. Inside the tent, the oil lamp's glow was weak but steady, casting long shadows across worn leather and iron. Outside, the steppe stretched endlessly under the crescent moon, each shadow a silent guardian of secrets known only to the night. The distant howl of wolves added to the wilderness's untamed ferocity. The cold wind whispered through the steppe, carrying with it the distant echo of a drum. Inside his tent, the warrior's hands moved deftly over his bow, oiling the wood to protect against the harsh elements. The oil lamp's glow was weak but steady, casting long shadows that stretched across worn leather and iron. Outside, the steppe lay under the crescent moon, each shadow a silent guardian of secrets known only to the night. The distant drumming echoed across the steppe, a rhythmic pulse that seemed to pulse with the cold night. Inside his tent, the warrior's fingers traced the worn grooves of his bowstring, checking for any sign of fraying. The oil lamp flickered weakly, barely reaching the edges of the canvas walls where shadows lurked like silent watchers. Outside, the moon cast an eerie silver glow over the frozen earth, each shadow a whispered warning of dangers unseen and secrets untold. The oil lamp inside the tent crackled softly, its light casting long shadows that danced along the worn leather and iron. Outside, the steppe was a sea of darkness under the crescent moon, each shadow a silent sentinel watching over the frozen earth. The warrior's horse stood quietly, its breath visible in the frigid air. Distant drums echoed across the steppe, a rhythmic pulse that seemed to match the cold night's heartbeat. Wolves howled in the distance, their cries cutting through the silence like sharp blades. The warrior's fingers, stiff from the cold, adjusted the quiver on his back. Inside the tent, the oil lamp cast a dim light, barely reaching to where he sat cross-legged on furs. Outside, the steppe was cloaked in darkness, each shadow a silent sentinel under the crescent moon. The distant howls of wolves and rhythmic drumming pulsed through the night air like the heartbeat of the land. His horse stood patiently, its breath visible against the frigid sky.